So every Monday morning, I do a Monday mindset moment inside of my mastermind, W2 Prison Break Nation, just to get everyone started off on the right foot. I look for inspiration throughout the week and I share it with the group. And this one is about my son, and I do that a lot. And I thought it would be great to share it with you guys. So hope you enjoy it. Hey guys, good morning. Monday Mindset Moment time. This one's going to be a little bit longer. I'm going to talk about my son today, and I'm going to tie some of the recent lessons that I've learned from him and over the last couple of years to business and to some of the things that you're struggling with. And for those of you who don't know or who haven't heard, because there's new members in the group, right? My son, who's now 13, a little over 2 years ago, was on an 11U travel baseball team. He was let go from that team, was not invited back. It was a crushing moment for the family, for him. He doubted himself. It wasn't a good situation. One of the worst days of my life as a parent, but also one of the best days of my life as a parent, because something happened that night that was just truly amazing. And I made a podcast about it a couple of years ago when it actually happened. I barely even was able to get through the podcast. It was so emotional for me, but he had that adversity. And that particular night, after he got cut from the team, which was a tough day, he went and tried out for another team, didn't have a good tryout, had to play a game that night for the same team that let him go. And bottom of the last inning, I think it was the bottom of the sixth, they have to win this game or they're out of the playoffs, right? This is like there's 2 games left. If they don't win, it's done. Season's over with. Sure enough, as the universe would have it, he's up to bat. He just gets cut. That morning he found out he got cut. He plays in the game. And just the fact that he showed up and played in the game was like, hey, look, you don't have to go if you don't want to. He's like, no, I'm going. And he's up to bat last. It's 2 outs, I think he had 2 strikes. It was 2 outs, 2 strikes. He gets a hit. They win the game, right? They score 2 runs. They win the game. They make it to the championship, which they lost, by the way. But huge moment. And stuff has continued to happen over the last couple of years. He played on a 12U team the next year. He got on another team. He did very well. And then he had to make the jump from 13 to 14U, right? So he's playing with kids who are older than him, who are bigger than him. Some of them are in high school. He's in 8th grade. And the reason that he's doing that is because in high school, the bases are major league, right? 90 feet, 60 feet pitching mound. When you're playing 13, it's shorter. So he wants a year to get used to it. Well, he was essentially the last kid picked on a 14U team. He didn't make any of them that he tried out for. Look, and my son is good. He's a good player. He's just not big. He's smaller. He doesn't weigh a lot. He's not the biggest kid. He's not hitting, as the kids call it, nukes over the fence. But he's reliable. He makes plays in the field. He's trustworthy. He's a good teammate. He just doesn't light up the stat sheet, if you will, right? Even though he's super consistent. And these are the messages that I want to share with you today. So he's now in a situation where he was picked last on this 14U team. They've played 6 games. He played a game last night. They played a total of 6 games. And he is now getting put in to pitch when the bases are loaded, right? When the bases are loaded, they put him in, which is basically like, hey, we need you to get us out of this situation. And he has, right? He's performed well. High pressure situation. So he goes from being the last kid on the team, batting last to start. He doesn't bat last anymore, by the way. And last night, he's up with the bases loaded. He's up to bat with the bases loaded against the best team in the league. And they lost the game, unfortunately, but they were winning. They were beating this team. And he's up to bat with 2 outs. There's bases are loaded. He hits a ball into right field and 2-run score, right? Tough pressure moment. And the pitcher was throwing pretty hard. So I'm thinking about this and I'm like, man, this kid just continues to do this. Like he continues to get cut. He continues to get picked last. And it's like, does anybody not see what I see? And they don't, and they wouldn't, because they don't see what he's doing every single day. They don't see him hitting balls off the tee every day. They don't see him going once a week to his batting coach and his pitching coach. They don't see him lifting weights. They don't see him doing that. They don't see him playing catch out with me in the backyard. They just see him. They see him, a kid who's smaller than everyone else, because these kids are all bigger, right? The 14 are all bigger. They're just judging a book by its cover. They have a tryout which is, an hour long to judge, but they don't see all the other stuff. They don't see the heart. They don't see all the work. But then when he gets the play, when he gets the opportunity, he takes advantage of it and they see, oh, I made a mistake. One of the things I always tell my son is make him regret it. Make him understand that they made the wrong decision. So the bases loaded situation, I've thought about ways to tie this together to entrepreneurship, to the challenges that you guys are facing right now, right? Because that's a tough situation, being up when the bases are loaded or being on the mound when the bases are loaded. So pressure brings growth is something that I wrote down. And, when he's in those situations, those high pressure moments, like he can't avoid the pressure. Like you got to face it head on. Think about entrepreneurship when you face challenges like, financial stress or family commitments or self-doubt. Like a self-doubt is your bases loaded situation, right? It's in these moments when growth happens. Like the pressure forces us to dig deeper and rise to the occasion. And for those of you that do, you continue to look for those moments, those bases loaded moments, because you have, the mental stamina or the ability to rise above, right? He has this ability to stay calm under the pressure. And I always ask him about, I'm like, what's going through your head when you're in those situations? And he's like, I'm just, going through my swing cues, or I'm just thinking about, when I'm pitching, I'm taking a deep breath, or I'm just, thinking about the glove. Like he takes emotions out when the game is on the line. Like he has to just focus on what he can control, right? Making those clear decisions, right? And in business, when everything seems chaotic and overwhelming, or even in your life, period, like staying calm is huge. Staying focused, managing stress, making the next best decision rather than being paralyzed by the moment. The last thing, there's two more things, is focusing on what you can control, right? Big problem for me. He can't control the crowd, the scoreboard, what the other team is going to do, what the coaches are saying to him, what the other coaches are yelling. Like you got to block all that stuff out. It's really chaotic, right? Just like you in business, like you can't control the economy. You can't control the market, outside opinions. Like you can only control your effort, your attitude, and your execution, right? Like what you're doing. Those are the things that you can control. All the other stuff you can't control. And many of us are trying to control those situations or using those situations as reasons to not try, right? Those are your bases loaded situations, right? Being consistent. Consistency is everything. I will continue to talk about this until I expire from this earth. Doing things small over a long period of time, effort over a long period of time, is what is going to move the needle in your life. That's the formula for success, not these heroic moments, right? Like he was able to perform in these bases loaded situations because of his consistency, right? He works at it. You show up game after game, practice after practice, regardless of the situation. Like he doesn't miss stuff. He works out. He doesn't miss coaching sessions. He hits balls off the tee every day. Like it's non-stop. Showing up, even when things aren't ideal, is so critical. Being your best regardless of circumstance. I talk about this all the time. There's so much more I could talk about here, but I don't want to lose you guys. But hopefully these takeaways, this bases loaded situation lands with you, because you need to be looking for those situations where when the bases are loaded, will you be your best regardless of the circumstance, right? Because you can be. And even if you don't win, because he doesn't perform every single time. Sometimes he fails. Even if you don't win, what can you learn from it? There's so much growth in that opportunity to step up. Like when he goes into pitch, last night they put him into pitch, bases loaded, and I knew they were going to do it. I said they're going to put him in. My wife and my mother are like dying. I'm like, what are you worried about? He's the one who's got to pitch. It's like, it's so stressful. I'm like, no, it isn't. He's the one who's got to do it. It's like, you're just watching. Okay? If you think it's stressful watching from the sidelines and you're on the sidelines, you got to get off the damn sidelines and get in the game, because that's nothing compared to being in the game and being in the middle of it, right? And to hear him talk, when I asked him, like, what are you thinking about? He's like, really, I'm not thinking about anything. We're the ones over on the sidelines worrying and worrying, like, oh, what if this happens? What if that happens? What if he hits a home run off the kid? It's like he's not thinking about that. He's just trying to get the damn ball over the plate, execute, right? I'm trying to get a hit. I'm focusing on the ball. It's so much different when you are actually in the game than when you are on the sidelines. And I think for those of you who are actually in the game and doing it, it's a much different experience. A much different experience than what you thought it was when you were sitting on the sidelines. So, my message to you is to get in the game, find those moments where you can have the bases loaded up and get through it. Be resilient. Use it as a learning opportunity. Use it to show up the right way and be your best regardless of circumstance. Thanks for listening. Let's crush it this week.